Hey everybody, how's it going? It's a Daily Shooter, and with everything going on right now, there's an increased emphasis on home defense. People want to be able to defend their homes, their property, their lives, and so you got a lot of new people on the market right now that are looking for something to do that, and when they get it, a lot of times they don't come with optics. Handguns obviously are going to come with sights, but most long guns these days don't come with even flip-ups. So what do you buy if you're looking for an optic specifically for home defense? There's so many different options on the market today, so what I want to talk about is the best type of optic that I would recommend for the sole purpose of home defense. So let's go ahead and start off first by talking about what not to get, and then we'll talk about the different things that are available that you could get and which one of those is going to be the best. Now, one of the things not to get is something that does not have an illuminated reticle. Now, that might seem like some type of tactical feature to some people, but it is a very helpful feature for a lot of different reasons. You can ask hunters that go out dusk or dawn. Once it starts getting a little bit dark outside, it's very difficult to see a black reticle, and if you cannot illuminate that reticle and put a little bit of contrast on it to your target, then it's going to be difficult to see what you're aiming at, and you want to be as safe as possible. There's people living in nearby locations, houses, maybe you live in an apartment, maybe you live somewhere where you have kids present, or just people in the other room, and so you want to know what your target is, you want to know what's beyond your target, and you want to be able to engage that target without missing it, and an illuminated reticle will help you do that. So if you're looking at an optic that does not have an illuminated reticle for home defense, I would simply pass on it. The next thing that I would pass on is long range scope. There's a lot of people out there that are going to find these long range scopes at Walmart or other big box stores that might still be open, and you're going to see these long range scopes and think, well, I need something for my rifle, and that's not going to be the thing to get if you're trying to protect yourself within a confined area. So if you're talking about a hallway or a room where the longest distance is maybe going to be 20 yards, a long range scope isn't going to do it for you. Even if it's just something small that's like a 3 to 9, it's still something that I would stay away from. Another reason that I would stay away from a long range scope is because parallax tends to be pretty heavy with long range scopes. What that means is parallax is if you're looking through your scope and you're looking at the reticle and then you have a target on the other side and all three of those are in alignment, then you're going to be able to hit your target. However, with a magnified optic, these things are sometimes exaggerated, and so what will happen is you may have the rifle pointed at your target, but the optic is off just a little bit. That's because your eye is not directly behind that reticle, and so when you move your eye, you might be pointing at exactly what you want to hit, but because your eye is off a little bit, it looks like you're pointing at something else, and so you'll make an adjustment to get that reticle on target, and now the rifle itself is off target. And so parallax can be a big affecting factor in this, and so that's why I try and stay away from long-range scopes or anything, even 3 to 9, 4 to 16, 6 to 24, whatever. Stay away from those and stay away from anything that does not have some type of illuminated reticle. So what does that leave us? Well, that actually leaves us with several different options. Some are better than others, and we'll talk about what I think is the best for home defense. But there are several different options that you could choose from that would still work in a home defense scenario. You have fixed power magnified optics, so you have something that's maybe like a fixed 3x or something like that. You have LPVOs, which is a low power variable optic. Those are good for home defense for the simple fact that they can be dialed all the way down to 1x, which means that they have no magnification at all, and most of them have illuminated reticles these days. There's holographic sights, there's red dots, there's prism sights and things like that. So you're looking at all these wondering, well, which one's going to be the best? Let's go through each one. We'll talk about its positives and its negatives, and then which one I think, again, is going to be the best for most people in a home defense scenario. Okay, so let's go ahead and start off by talking about LPVOs. Now, LPVOs are great optics in general. They're not my first choice for a home defense optic, but still I think they'll work for a couple different reasons. Again, they'll dial all the way down to 1x, so if you have a target that's very close to you, you'll be able to engage it with an LPVO. If you have an LPVO that's 1 or 1.5 power at the very lowest end, you'll be able to engage stuff that's really close. You won't have to worry about it too much, and most of the time they have illuminated reticles. Again, if it doesn't have an illuminated reticle, it's just out of the game altogether for me. So LPVOs have some pluses and some minuses, some good things and some bad things to talk about. So again, some of the good things are the fact that you have quick target acquisition with an LPVO. That means that from the moment you have your firearm down to the moment that you bring it up, how fast can you find that reticle and how fast can you get that reticle on target? With an LPVO, you can do that pretty quickly, and that's why people use these in competitions. Now, I'm not specifically talking about, this particular setup on this rifle right here, because this is just a fun Star Wars project that I've been putting together for quite some time now, but I just wanted to bring out this LPVO to show you some of the differences in LPVOs that you can find. So this one right here is a Burris. This one right here I would consider it a better choice for home defense than some others because of the fact that this actually comes as a unit, comes with the mount, and it comes with a red dot that is already pre-installed on top. So the nice thing about a red dot is, let's say you're out there, you're having a good time at the range, and you have this thing dialed all the way up to its highest magnification level, right? All of a sudden you hear, something in the house and you have to grab your firearm. Well, when you bring this down, you don't want to be, fumbling trying to get it all the way down. You want the quickest target acquisition that you can get, and with a red dot on top, all you have to do is simply lift your head up. It gets rid of that magnification altogether, and then you have a very fast red dot sight just ready for you right on top. So this one does add to the capabilities of an LPVO a little bit by having that red dot available to you on the top of it. You have to learn how to use it because you do have to change your cheek weld and where you have your eye set and stuff like that. And so lifting your eye up or your head up fast enough to be able to find that dot and still engage does take a little bit of practice. It's not just a matter of just simply lifting your head up. I mean, you have to know exactly where your head's going to go once you have it. But other LPVOs like this Bushnell right here, which is another great option, this one right here doesn't have the capability at all to put a red dot on it, even if you wanted to, unless you bought some type of mount where the mount had a small Picatinny rail on it, where you could then mount a red dot onto the mount itself. So they would be two separate units, I guess very similar to this one, but this one right here actually came with it pre-installed. So this one right here doesn't come with rings, it doesn't come with a red dot, you'd have to buy them all separately. But still, illuminated reticle, dials all the way down to 1x, and you can still find your target pretty quick. So what's the downsides with these? Well, some of the downsides with these is that with a magnified optic of any kind, even with one that's dialed all the way down, you still have to get the proper eye relief. That means if you pick this thing up real quick and your eye's too close or it's too far away, you could end up with a lot of shadowing around that. And so you end up with a really small reticle and a poor aiming surface, I guess you could say, to look through, okay? So, well, the more shadow you have, the worse your eye relief is, and the less likelihood that you're actually going to hit your target. So you want to be able to get this thing up, remember where that eye relief was so that your chin's in the same position every single time. And when you pop this thing up in front of your face, you have basically no black circle around it, and you can see the entire reticle. That's also going to help with parallax, because on any magnified optic or any optic that has a reticle like this, you're going to end up with some parallax, and it could be heavy parallax, even indoors, especially up close, because parallax is actually lessened as distance goes on. So when you're talking about within, let's say, 20 yards, there's going to be more of a chance of parallax affecting your shot than it would be at, let's say, 100 yards. Okay, so that's something to consider as well. So you have the eye box to consider, you have eye relief to consider, you have parallax to consider, and things like that. There's a little bit more going on with a LPVO than there would be with something a little bit more simple. So again, it is a choice for home defense, but not my first choice. Okay, so now let's go ahead and talk about fixed powered magnified optics. Okay, so fixed powered magnified optics is going to be your 3x, your 5x, your 6x, stuff like that, where you look through it, there's no ability to change the magnification. It just is what it is when you look through it. You're going to look through it, you're going to get 3 times magnification, or 5 or 6, or whatever that one happens to be. For me, when it comes to a home defense scenario, I wouldn't look at anything that has greater than 3x magnification. This is a Trijicon ACOG. I believe this one is the TA50. It's a low profile, and it's meant for an AK. This one has a 7.62 by 3.9 reticle in it, so this one is kind of more specific to this type of firearm. This is my Arsenal SAM-7R right here. So this type of optic is good for home defense. Again, it's not my first choice, and to me it's not my favorite for home defense, but you definitely could use this for home defense, and it has some pluses and minuses as well. But what I like about an optic that's fixed power like this is if you keep something around that 3x point and you are at your house and something pops up within 5 feet of you, it might be a little bit blurry, The image might be a little bit blurry, but you can still see what you're aiming at and you'll still be able to hit it. Thing is, if you're looking at, let's say, 20 yards away, so you've you have a pointer around some type of cover, right? And then, you know, you have a couple guys that are coming in. At 20 yards, this thing is absolutely crystal clear. You're going to be able to see that target. And the nice thing about this is you're not going to be affected by parallax as much as you are other types of optics. So parallax isn't going to be as bad as, let's say, having an LPVO that is set at 3x. This one's going to have less parallax than that. You can check parallax on something by simply putting it on a stationary position and then having it aiming at, say, let's say a fixed point. So light switch would be a good example. You could take your optic, aim it at a light switch, put it on a box or whatever you have laying around, aim it at that light switch, and then put your head behind it. Now move your head around behind the optic so that you can see the reticle, move your head around, and if you see that reticle move around the target itself so it doesn't stay positioned on that light switch, then that's your parallax, okay? And that's how much parallax you're going to have at that distance. So you can see as your eye moves left or your eye moves right, the reticle will start to move with your eye and you'll see it be taken off target. And that's how you can tell how much parallax that particular optic has. And from my experience, the parallax that you're going to get out of a fixed 3x or even a 3x prism sight is going to be less than a magnified optic like an LPVO that actually has the ability to dial up and dial down. Now, something like this is nice, especially this Trigicon, because it has two different types of illumination. So it does have that illuminated reticle that we talked about earlier, but two different ways in order to illuminate it. Doesn't require any batteries, which means that you don't have to worry about the battery going dead in the middle of something or picking it up and the battery's dead, which would be absolutely terrible. But this one actually collects light from a fiber optic source on top, and then it projects that light onto the glass, and then you see the reflection of the reticle yourself. But if there's no light at all, say you're in a very dim situation, you're in your house, it's nighttime, there's only ambient light, night lights all around the house or something like that. There's also tritium in here. Tritium, basically it's a little glowing fluid, and that fluid allows the reticle to be illuminated even with no light. And tritium lasts for about 10 years, maybe 12 years, something like that. So you don't have to worry about batteries in this thing for about 12 years. Tritium will start to fade over time, but still you're going to have that illumination in pretty much every light setting. These little 3Xs, they're usually smaller and lighter, shorter than an LPVO, and so you're going to end up with something that's a little bit easier to carry around. The only downside to something like a 3X is that usually with this type of optic, you have to keep your face pretty close to the optic. There's very little eye relief. Eye relief is the amount of space between the ocular lens and your eye where it has to sit in order to get the right sight picture. So as you're looking through it, you have to, again, just like an LPVO, know where this thing is, where your proper cheek weld is going to be, so that when you lift it up in front of your face, you don't want to take your head and duck it down. You want to make sure that you lift the optic up to where your face is, and then you want to make sure that your cheek is in the right position, because when you look through it, if it's not in the right position, you're going to get ghosting on one of these, just like you are any other type of magnified optic. Okay, so now let's go ahead and move on to the last category of optics that I think are good for home defense. Now, this category happens to be my favorite and my #1 choice for home defense for several different reasons. Now, I'm going to lump a few different type of optics into this one category. So we're talking about red dot sights, reflex sights, and holographic sights. Now, each one of those works a little bit differently. Some use an LED projection, some use a laser, some use mirrors, some don't, but that doesn't really matter. It's how the user perceives the optic and how the optic works in the end that is kind of the biggest point to why I'm putting this in one category and why I think it's the best for home defense. Now, there's several different types of red dots, reflex sights, and holographic sights that you can get. Each one of them has a different reticle or different features that it might offer, but they all work the same. Each red dot sight, reflex sight, or holographic sight that you're looking at, if you're looking down that sight, it's going to have a lot less parallax than any of the other options that we've talked about before. Now, no reflex sight or red dot sight that I've ever seen has been completely parallax free inside of, let's say, 25 yards. You're going to have a little bit of parallax. Again, like I said, put it on a stationary point it at a light switch, and then move your head around. You might see a little bit of movement. Some will have perfect parallax when you're talking about, your eye moving parallel, but then vertically you'll see just a tad bit of parallax as you move across it. Some have none when it comes to vertical and a little bit when it comes to horizontal, but still, there's going to be a lot less parallax. That means that once you lift that thing up in front of your face and you put that red dot or that circle dot, whatever reticle it has in it, on your target. It doesn't matter where your head's sitting. As long as that red dot is on your target, you're going to hit your target. Now that's nice because there's a lot of new shooters out there, and if you have this thing properly zeroed, you know that with confidence, it doesn't matter where your head is sitting on the rifle or whether or not you have the proper cheek well. All you have to do is simply put that reticle on target and you're going to be able to hit that target. So ease of use is 100% with a red dot reflex or holographic sight. So that's fantastic. Another great thing about red dot sights is they're easier to shoot with both eyes open. Now you can do that with a fixed power magnified optic or an LPVO, but it's the easiest with a red dot, and that's because red dots don't have any magnification whatsoever. That means that when you pick it up, the image that you're seeing out of your right eye or your left eye, depending on, you know, which eye is dominant, that's the same image that you're going to get out of the other eye. So when you pick it up, you're just going to see a superimposed red dot on whatever it is that you want to hit, which is great. Now, when it comes to red dots and reflex sights, you're going to find different window sizes. Usually with a smaller red dot, you're going to see something like this. This is a Holosun. It's a very popular red dot. It's popular because it's affordable, they're durable, the battery life on these things is incredible, and the battery life is going to be a lot better than what you're going to find in an LPVO or other optics that might be out there that also have illuminated reticles. The red dots that you're going to find today usually anywhere from 10 to 100,000 hours. So you don't have to worry about that battery going out for up to 5 or 10 even years. So there's different types of red dots out here. This one right here has a very small tube, so when you're looking through it, you may only have, you know, like 20 millimeters to look through, so like a 24 millimeter tube or something like that. There are other red dots and reflex sights that are out there, like this one right here, or like the EOTech, which is a very popular one. A lot of people know the EOTechs that are out there have very large viewing windows. This one right here is a Sig Sauer Romeo 8H. It has a viewing window that is very similar to an EOTech, but this EOTech is a holographic sight. This is a reflex sight right here. But again, a very large viewing window. That means that it allows for a lot more, I would say it gives you a lot more play, because the larger the window, the more movement that you can have on that red dot while still keeping it on your target. That means that when I put this thing up in front of my face, if my cheek well is really off and that red dot is off to the top right corner, it can go pretty far before it actually leaves my viewing window. That means I'm going to be able to pick it up a lot faster and be able to put it to the center better than something that's going to be a smaller tubular design or something like that. And also it's a lot more forgiving in the fact that, again, like I said, with very low parallax, even if the reticle is up on the top right of the window, if it's on your target, you're going to be good to go. So again, something with a large window is going to be a lot nicer. Again, this one right here has 100,000 hours of battery life, so it's got a long battery life to it. And the image is going to be set up to the way that you want it as well. So unlike a lot of other optics that will have you turn a knob or something like that, and there are red dots that have you turn knobs to change the illumination, the knobs and the buttons that you'll find on red dots are typically a lot faster. That means if you pick it up and it's just way too bright in your face, a couple clicks of a knob will turn that down and really be able to dim down that reticle. Also, most red dots have night vision capability. So if you're somebody who already knows what I'm talking about right here, this will mean absolutely nothing to you. If you're somebody who's willing to spend $4, $10, $12, $16,000 on night vision, then you probably already know everything there is to know about optics. But still, you do have the capability with most red dots to be able to use night vision, which is also nice. So again, these are very fast. You pick them up and you don't have to worry about anything. Again, just put that reticle on target and you're good to go. So it's kind of stupid proof, right? It's very, very easy to use. Now the thing is that when you have a red dot, reflex sight or something like that on the top of your firearm, you also don't have to worry about eye relief. So if I have this right here and I pick it up and I go like this, it's going to look exactly the same as if I go like this. The only difference being is that when this thing is further out, the reticle is going to appear a little bit larger, and I'm going to be able to see more of what's going on around me. So the further this thing is out, the more I can see what's going on around me. The more that I bring it in, the more my vision is going to be obstructed by the optic itself, but it doesn't really matter. I can have it out here, I can have it here, and I'll still see the reticle. Unlike any type of magnified optic or even a one-power LPVO, anytime you change that eye relief, you're going to be off. And so you don't have to worry about eye relief. You have, it's just, like I said before, it's kind of a stupid proof option to be able to, you know, get on target. Now there's several different types of red dots that you can choose from. As you can see here, we have a large viewing window on a red dot. We have a smaller, more lightweight viewing window on this one, very low profile. And there's other optics like this one right here. This is a Trijicon MRO. This one also has a larger viewing window, or a larger objective window. So the ocular window, the one that's going to be closest to your eye, is still fairly small, as you can see right here. But the objective window, the one that's actually facing your target, that one's going to be a lot larger, and that's going to get rid of any type of tubular effect that you might see out of a smaller optic like this. When you look through an optic like this, all you see is just basically the target. Now you can see that this one has flip-up caps. It's going to obscure some of the target, even if I have this thing a little bit further out. These are going to block some of what's around you. So there's things like that to consider as well. But again, most red dots work the same. Again, this one right here does have a dial to go through your illumination settings, very similar to some of the other options that we already looked at. But this dial works really, really fast, and I can dial it up and I can dial it down in just a second and find the exact brightness setting that I want. So there's several different types of optics to choose from. There's small tubes, there's large tubes, and then there's large viewing windows. So again, there's a lot within this category that makes it a great category to choose from, but I still think that red dots, reflex sights, and holographic sights are going to be the best choice for engaging a target within the distance of your home very quickly and very easily. So hopefully that helps some of you out, and some of you kind of understand the differences between some of these optics, and you know what the pluses and minuses are to each. But again, if you're looking at defending a small space like a home, a hallway, a living room, or something like that, it's best to go with something like a red dot. Those are just going to be the easiest and the fastest things to use. So I know this was basic. This is just 101. But again, this was kind of geared to really help those people that are just kind of getting into firearms understand what they're looking at when they look at some of these things that are on the market these days. So again, I want to thank you all very much for watching. I really do appreciate it. Please like, subscribe, and have a great day.